Today, I'm going to be adding virtual reality to my racing game, but not only that, I'm going to be taking your ideas and adding them into the game, and the results are so cursed. In my past couple of videos, I've been working on my game Track Race, which is a racing game but the player controls the track instead of the car. Recently, I've added obstacles, power-ups, and new maps to the game, all recommended by ChatGPT. But now, I'm going to be taking your ideas and adding them to the game, starting with a VR mode. First, I opened Unreal and made a new project with the VR template. Now if I put on the headset and press play, I have a whole demo world to play around in and test its features. But this demo is pretty lame, so I took all the assets I needed and migrated it to the Track Race project. Now I can just plop the VR player in the level and bam! I can do nothing but look around. Also, I don't have hands for some reason. Let me just add some blueprints and bam! I have hands now. Look at me waving to all my fans. Alright, I should probably add some functionality to the player. In the main track race, the player has this simple widget that pretty much does everything, like spawn cars, choose maps, and restarts the game. So I took that widget and tried to rearrange it to fit on my VR hand. Thankfully, the template player already has a similar hand menu, so I can use that same functionality on this widget. And after a couple hours, the buttons don't even work. So I did some patching, and after a couple more hours, it's ginormous. This widget took way too long to get right, but finally I got it working. Mostly. Except there's no track for the cars to follow. In the main game, the player can place the tracks wherever they want, but I don't really know how to get that working in VR. So instead, I placed this pre-made track down, which is also how I added tracks in the Mario Kart maps in the previous video. Even though the initial premise of the game is that the player can place the tracks themselves, I just don't have time to figure it out. But now that the cars actually have a track to follow, I want the player to sit inside the car as if they're actually driving. The old player car that I modeled doesn't really have enough room for the player to sit, so I fired up Blender and made the seat a little bigger and added a steering wheel. Then I did some blueprint work so that once the player presses race, he'll possess a random car that just got spawned. Now the player can actually ride in one of the cars. Perfect. I did try to add extra features like steering or actual hands in the cars, but I kept running into so many roadblocks that I just gave up on perfecting it. I mean, the first hands were too big, then too small, the menu was glitching out, all the cars had hands, then no cars had hands. It was a mess to say the least, and I just don't have time to fix all that. But to make it up for you guys, I did put the VR cars in the Woohoo Island map from Wii Sports Resort, and I gotta say, it does feel cool to drive around the island as if I'm actually there. Now I have a certain quality for my games to be released, and this VR mode just doesn't meet it. So I'm sorry to say that I didn't release this mode on itch.io, but that doesn't mean I'm done. One of you guys requested to add something to the game that I just couldn't pass up. Bombs. I fired up Blender and made this bomb model. I colored it, then imported it into Unreal Engine. I turned it into a blueprint, and now the player can spawn them around the map. But they don't really do anything except become mild inconveniences to the cars. So let's fix that. I made a particle system and created this explosion effect. Now when the cars run into them, they explode. But not really, they literally just destroy, then spawn the effect. I don't need the bombs to disappear, I need them to explode. But this isn't as easy as it seems. First, I try to push back the car that touches the bomb, but that will only affect one car. I need it to get all the cars in a radius around the bomb and apply the impulse effect to them all. But I think I made the radius too big because it's pushing back every car. So after a little tweaking with the blueprints, the bomb finally works. I also realized that the giant fans I added in the last video will sling the bombs everywhere, and you can place bombs as you drive. But honestly, it makes it more fun. One of you guys also requested adding a mode where you can actually control the cars. I feel like with every update, I'm moving further and further from the initial premise of the game, a racing game where you play as the track. But you know what? I don't really care because this sounds cool. After some light blueprint work, the player can now control the car he's possessing with the A and D keys. This is pretty simple to do as I just made the cars turn left and right based on the input of those keys. I also made the cars brake when the S key is pressed, so there's some more control. I also added this play as car toggle so the player can choose whether to control the car or have the car's AI do it. One small issue is that if the car flips upside down in this mode, you're kind of stuck like this. Now this might seem a little boring at first glance until you find out it works on the Woohoo Island level. I can just explore the island as much as I want, and I may be too excited about this, but I don't care, it's awesome. If you guys want to experience this absolute masterpiece for yourself, you can play it for free by clicking the link in the description. But there is one more thing I added that no one suggested, but I think is pretty cool. So far, there are only 3 maps to the game: the Stadium, Woohoo Island, and Rainbow Road. If you guys have any more map ideas, make sure to leave a comment and subscribe. But for now, I looked on Sketchfab and found this Coconut Mall map from Mario Kart. I downloaded that and imported it into Unreal Engine. And honestly, this actually looks pretty cool. But don't be fooled, if I turn show collisions on, they are horrendous. But there are like 20 meshes to this map, and did I really want to go in and fix the collisions for each one again? I already did this with the Wii Sports map, and I don't know if I want to... With the collisions fixed, I can finally take a break, and why are there no escalators? Alright, for some reason, whoever uploaded the 3DS Mario Kart 7 map to Sketchfab forgot to include escalators, but thankfully, I found a solution. In my artillery of Unreal Engine asset packs, I've acquired this airport pack. And if you don't know, airports typically have escalators. So I yoinked that and stretched it out to fit the escalator hole. You might notice that this map is looking a little dark. That's because these skylights are supposed to be transparent, but the imported materials are solid. So after changing the opacity a bit, bam, we got some nice sunshine in the mall. I also went ahead and placed the speed power-ups that I made in the previous video onto the boost pads to replicate their effect. With the map imported, collision fixed, and escalators existing, I just needed to put a tracker on the map for the cars to follow. The way I do this is use a pre-made track but make it invisible, so it just looks like the cars are speeding around the mall. This track is made of spline points, which I can place wherever and make a path for the cars to follow. I also made the ending of it a jump, and I don't know how well the cars are gonna follow it, but I guess we'll see. With everything laid out, I can finally take a break and the cars cannot go up the stairs. Wow. Okay, it turns out these car AIs are so dumb, they can't drive upstairs. So after a little more collision fixing, these guys can actually drive around the map, albeit in the most cursed way possible. But you know what they say, if it's broken, don't fix it. If you guys have any ideas for the next updates, make sure to leave a comment. If you enjoyed, make sure to like and subscribe, and go watch my other videos I made on this game. But hey, that's just a theory. Again.